So have you seen this new Netflix documentary, The Cruise from Hell, the Poop Cruise, documenting something that happened, several years ago with a Carnival cruise ship? My wife and I watched it last night, and I'm telling you now, if you are a cruise enthusiast, it is a must see. My name is Randy, and I do a lot of videos on vacations, and so I wanted to give you my review, now more like my thoughts on this documentary and the events that happened on this cruise. I'm going to tell you right now, first and foremost, I highly recommend it. If you enjoy cruising, I think you have to watch this documentary. I think this documentary shows probably nearly the worst case scenario that can happen on a cruise. Obviously, worst case is, the actual sinking, God forbid, sinking of a ship. But other than that, what happens on these poor passengers on this cruise ship is probably a worst case scenario. Those of you that don't know, I haven't seen it yet, it's no big spoiler. It's the big trailer and everybody knows about it. Basically, what happens is these unknowing passengers take a cruise from Galveston to Cozumel and back. And it's supposed to be just like a 3 or 4 day, normal little Carnival cruise. And they do a great job of introducing certain people on the cruise, and they have them go over, what they went through, their thoughts, what they were feeling, and so on. And it's riveting. You can't help but get drawn in. If you are familiar with cruising, you get drawn in and you can't help. You put yourself in that scenario, and man, the thoughts that you get and what these people went through, oh my goodness. I think it ended up being like 7 or 8 days again, the beginning of the cruise, the first 3 days are spectacular. All the passengers talk about what a great time they had, drinking and socializing and dancing and having a great time eating. Everything was wonderful. They get to Cozumel, they have a great time there. And then on the return trip, oops, there's a fire and everything goes to poop, to put it bluntly. The toilets back up, all electricity is shut off. And one of the things that I was curious about while I was watching it was they mentioned how people kind of went into survival mode during this tragedy, and how people started hoarding things, hoarding locations on the ship. They said they had fights. People were fighting over certain locations on the ship, and people were hoarding food and water and so on. And I would really like to know, in fact, if any of you watching this were aboard or were familiar or know someone that was on the cruise, I would really love to hear your stories and maybe your comments in the comment section below. I think it's a fascinating story. Obviously, things go really bad when all electricity is shut off and the toilets don't work anymore, okay? And that's why it's called the Poop Cruise. My wife and I, oh my God, we were mortified. We were like sickened when they showed videos of people with flip-flops walking in this brownish water that you knew was full of feces, urine, and God knows what else. It is a tremendously entertaining watch from the safety of your own house or wherever. And I highly recommend it. But I do want to also say this. One of the things that kind of really impressed me was when the ordeal was finally over and the ship actually docked and the survivors were brought on shore. They do a little clip. Carnival corporate was bracing for the absolute worst PR in the world, that these passengers were going to trash the crew and trash Carnival and so on, and they didn't. They got off, and obviously they were upset with what happened, but they bragged on the crew of the Carnival Triumph. They said that the crew did everything they could to make the most unbearable things almost bearable. So, that's impressive. That's impressive to know that Carnival, the people on that ship, the crew members on that ship, worked that hard to make it as, as survivable and bearable as possible. So again, I just wanted to make a quick video about that and share with my thoughts. Again, I do think it's an absolute must see. I think that this incident probably set the cruise industry back a good bit after it happened, because I know it was all over the news. It was all over the news. And you see people, helicopters and news copters flying by, and you got people with help me signs, and they got sheets with SOS on them, and poop this, that, and the other. And you see like all the sheets and all that, all the little tents they made up. I mean, it set, I'm sure a lot of people at that time saw that, the news footage, and was like, okay, either I'm never going on a cruise or whatever. So I do think it set the cruise industry back, a good bit whenever that incident happened. But of course, as I'm sure all of you know right now, the cruise industry is like absolutely booming right now. Everybody and their brother is cruising, and that's wonderful. My wife and I can't wait to go on our next one, which we're working on right now. We've got one already scheduled for next Mardi Gras here in Louisiana. We're going on our next Disney cruise, but I am working on, by the end of this year, going on our first Royal Caribbean cruise. So, if you want to hang around and check that out. So anyway, that's it for this video. I just wanted to take a few moments and talk about my thoughts on that incredibly entertaining documentary on Netflix. Check it out if you're interested. It's definitely worth a look. And hey, we're going to see you on the next one.